Okay, so what we are saying is, if you look at effective advocacy, there are 5 things that should happen in any advocacy activity, so that that advocacy activity can be effective, can achieve the intended results. So number 1, it should value the children, their families and communities. How can it be done? By making sure that children, families and communities are taking part in decision making, and they are also the main actors in their own development. So you, as a child worker, you should not impose your ideas and views on the children, families and communities. Instead, you should get input, ideas from the families, the children and the communities where they're coming from, to inform you on what you should do in order for their lives to improve. So don't come from wherever you come from. Go to a community and tell them what to do, and tell them this is what we are going to give you, so that your children can be healthy, so that your children can, enjoy their rights. No. Or they can live comfortably. They can ask, what is it that you think your children should be having in order for them to grow properly, to be protected, to enjoy their rights. When they give you the ideas, then you can work on the ideas and improve them. That's what it means, the first point. The second point, we are saying it should demonstrate the advantages of changing policies, practices and legislation to benefit the children. Since your aim is to improve the lives of children, then you have to show connection of changing some of the practices and what the children are going to benefit. So when you are maybe making people to change their beliefs, make sure you show that when they change their beliefs, when they change their habits, their parenting practices, the children are the ones who are going to benefit, not you, not the president, not the community leaders and FUMO. They are not going to benefit. Show that the change in policy or whatever you want to bring a change, the beneficiaries are the children. If you are telling teachers stop whipping the children in class when they misbehave, you must show that whipping the children doesn't benefit the children. Otherwise, if they don't see that whatever they are doing is harmful to the children, they are not going to stop. As bitiza bekwata kumakwagula kwako kama kutu. Tell them, if you continue doing this, you can see kuti mwana mukwapulelero mawa swapanga chiti chomwecho. Mukamukwapula the whole term, akamaza bwera, she will be 2 times as naughty as before. Which means your whipping is not benefiting the children. So tell them, show them that if they change, then the children are going to benefit. Show them that if you don't whip them, you use positive punishment or positive discipline, that is the one that is going to be effective. Changes are going to show. So advocacy works better, it's effective if you show that relationship. Number 3, we said you should encourage communities and countries to recognize the needs of children and also to fulfill their obligation. What it means is, dziko lililonse limakhala ndi malamulo opanga guide ana kuti asamalidwe bwanji. Which means when you are trying to work for children, you should show communities, you should show countries that there are laws and they must fulfill those laws. Last time I think I mentioned one of the most important laws about children about children. You remember? I said if not in this class, then maybe in the other class. The UNCRC, the United Nations Charter for Children, Protection of Children. Here, Convention on the Rights of the Child, not the Charter. So this is one of the most important laws, and every country is supposed to fulfill this law. Yeah. So, as a child worker, you must make them, these countries must be able to fulfill their obligations. It's their duty to make sure that they are following whatever is in the Convention on the Rights of the Children and many other laws. Number 4, we said we should challenge international donors to use the money wisely. If you look around, we've got so many international organizations and also local organizations who are working in protecting the lives of the children, and they use money. But if you look at maybe the majority of that money, 90% is used by the organizations, administration and the like. Only 10% is the one that benefits the children. So it means the work is not being effective. So we have got so many organizations: Action Aid, World Vision, USAID, Save the Children, Plan Malawi, Plan International, Help a Child, Feed the Child, Feed the Future, UNEC or whatever. These are organizations that use donors or money from donors in order to promote the rights of the children. But do they use all the money for the children? You see that most of the times the children will only benefit maybe 10%, 15%, 20%. So as we try to change the lives of the children, we must tell these international donors to use the money wisely to make the real difference in children's lives. It's going to come to Amazon's simagutisidwa ntchito bwino bwezi ana amasiye amene ali ma street musembe atachoka kale onse ali mu school kuti ndi ma school okwanira aphunzitsi akugwira ntchito yawo bwino. But some people pocket those monies in the name of the children, but the children do not even taste sometimes a single tambala. Okay, so inuyo mukazayamba ntchito mmene momo sikuti tidzakuoneniso kuti kungogwira ntchito chaka chimodzi mukuyendera Benz. Panopa mukanika bwanji kupanga zimenezo? Soya simukulima mukulima. Okay, simakhala zonena kuti ndalama mwazipeza chithumba mwachilolo chithumba chimenecho. Oh. Right, so that's what we're saying. Everyone should begin to learn to say the children should benefit first. You can eat, but make sure that you are eating a little. Make sure that you are eating a little. Yeah. Oh. Okay. So next, we want to look at why children need advocacy. Why children need advocacy. Yeah? So the question is, should we do children. Are there reasons enough for us to be busy fighting for the welfare and the rights of the children? That's a question, and that's what we want to try and answer here. So there are several reasons why we must carry out child advocacy. The first obvious reason is because we want to bring about changes in the lives of the children, and these changes should lead to the improvement. Should lead to the improvement of children's lives. We want to bring the change. We want to bring changes in children's lives, and these changes should lead to improvement of the children's lives. We want to bring changes. That's why children need advocacy.
Bring changes, and the changes should what?
Lead to improvement. Because there are certain changes they lead to further deterioration of children's lives. But here we're talking about bringing the changes, and these changes should lead to improvement. If children were not going to school, they should begin to go to school. If children were being neglected by parents, then the parents should begin to look after and take care of the children. If children were not given enough or quality nutrition, food, nutrition, then the changes should bring improvement to the nutrition and the food that is provided to the children. Shelter. If children were not given proper shelter, then our changes should bring good shelter. Attention. If children were not given attention, then our changes should bring improvement, and children should begin to receive quality attention and quality care should be attended to. All those changes is the one that we want to bring, and those will lead to the improvement of children's rights. Number one. Number two, why do children need advocacy, or why should we do advocacy? It's because we need to influence and lobby duty bearers to influence. We need to influence. Why we are doing this is to influence and lobby duty bearers, LOBBY. To influence and lobby, LOBBY, duty bearers. Duty bearers. Bearers, bear, teddy bear. To bear. Okay.
B-E-A-R.
Bearers, it means ER at the end. Duty bearers, so that they meet their obligations. So that they meet their obligations.
The what?
So that they meet. So that they fulfill their obligations under the obligations under the UNCRC. Under the UNCRC. And that one is the United Nations Convention on the Rights of children.
United
United Nations Convention on the Rights of Children. That one is a legal instrument. Those are laws contained in that stipulate, explain how children should be cared and protected by carers, be it parents, guardians, community members, relatives, countries, politicians, whosoever. The Convention on the Rights of Children, it explains the rights that should be observed in as far as children upbringing is concerned. Duty bearers, so that they meet their obligations, so that they fulfill their obligations. And these obligations they come under the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Children. Number 3. We do child advocacy because it brings about changes in policy, legislation, because it brings about key changes. Key changes in policy, legislation, that word again, brings about key changes in policy, legislation, and practice. That will have a lasting impact in children's lives. A lasting impact in children's lives. That will have a lasting impact in children's lives. So, why do we do child advocacy? That's point number 3. And why do children need advocacy? That's number 3. Number 4. Let me check this. Okay. Okay, children and children, not young people. Children are a powerless group in a society. Children are a powerless society. Powerless group in a society, and that is why they need advocacy. Children are a powerless group in a society, and that is why they need advocacy. And that is why we need to advocate for their rights. So what it means is, in most cases, it is the older people or grown-ups who make decisions for the children, and mostly without consulting the children. Yeah, the children are not involved in decision making. Yet the decisions are going to affect the children. So we don't mind whether the children are in agreement or not. We just go ahead. Or people simply go ahead and do things on behalf of children. By the end of the day, the children are not happy with them. They don't benefit them. And that is why we need to do advocacy, so that those decision makers, when they are doing the decisions, they should change their approach. They should begin to involve the children. Mbuyomo kunkakhala parliament yana. So children from different districts will meet at one place. Then amapangira ma MP, the way they do in parliament, the MPs. They would also have their own session, discuss issues affecting children, and after discussion they will take the issues and take them to the responsible officials in the government. So it was like, now the officials were aware, but my issues are minima ana mafuna kamena kukumana nao ndia. Not the issues which the grown-ups are thinking. These are the problems with the children, because sometimes there is a mismatch. Okay? So us who are working for the children, we have to advocate, or we have to remind those people who are making decisions to involve children. Just because children are powerless, they can't speak. Or when the children try to speak, people dismiss them and tell them, you are young, what do you know? Isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even parents, they simply dictate, you are going to Unilever. In as far as I am the one paying your fees, you are going to Unilever. And you are like, but this, but that doesn't count. And the parent will say, I have decided, I am the head of this family. It's just an example. Mm-hmm. Just a very good example. I don't know. Maybe, you tell me. Okay, but these days things are changing just because of advocacy. You are the one who actually approached the parliament and say, you see, this is the course I want, and it's at Unilever. I will not go where you want. I will go here. Yeah, that's the most interesting part. So we need to know that was number 4. Number 5. Children rely to a larger extent on adults to speak on their behalf and protect their rights. Children rely to a larger extent on adults. Children rely to a larger extent on adults to speak on their behalf and protect their rights. Children rely to a larger extent on the adults to speak on their behalf and to protect their rights. So what we're saying is, it is natural for children to seek protection from adults. That is why you need to be there. So that when they want somebody to protect them, you can protect them. When they want you to speak, you can speak. So naturally, it is acceptable that children should rely on the adults to speak on their behalf, and therefore, we should carry out advocacy. So the vulnerability of children tends to be reinforced by societal attitudes and legal processes. So you see, it's like, as a society, we have accepted that children are vulnerable. Yeah. Children are vulnerable, children are weak, children are not mature enough, children don't know what they want. Just like a belief, it goes around. The alien say, "Akamakula, kimakula choncho." So you cannot make a decision. I've got a 5-year-old, 5-year, I think 4 months old daughter. So she has been pressurizing me for her to have her own bedroom. So she sleeps in her bedroom, and all of a sudden she wakes up one day. She tells me, "Dad, I want to have my own room." And I'm like, "What? Yeah, you're only 5." She says, "No. Now I'm grown up. Now I can have my own room."
That's what they discuss at school.
Exactly. And they said, "Where did you get all those ideas, you young lady?" She said, "At my school, my friends all of them have got their own rooms." And I'm like, "Oh, so school is spoiling you." Yeah, so she tried to do this. She went to the room, tried to clean the room up, put things in place. I was just watching. I said, "This drama, let me see how it ends." Yeah, so in the evening, she goes there, sleeps on the bed. Neti palibepo, minewa yalile minoge ndi minewu. Mana masiku ano. Okay, so us as grown-ups, we don't accept that children can make their own decisions. We want to decide for them. So sometimes we make wrong decisions. So as advocates, we must be there to speak on behalf of children, to show people what they want and tell them it is okay to accept, views from children, because that's what they want. Let's just look at how best we can help. Point number 4, the last point on why children need advocacy. It's because okay, it's because children cannot look after their own interests. Because they cannot look after their own interests, yeah. So this point is similar to the previous point. But what we mean is, children don't have the ability to provide for themselves. They don't have the ability to mobilize resources so that they can, fulfill their interests, their needs, what they want. So they need advocates to do that for them. So children have got different needs and interests, but because they are not working, they cannot do business, they don't have the means to get the resources, the money. Even a mere ice cream or a pizza or just mere food, they can't have it, can't get it. Unlike you can just WhatsApp somebody. Mina mahopo, and they will send you money. Okay? But children, they don't have that ability. They can't do business, can't go to work, but they still have the interest. So we have to be there to see to it that their interests are being met. Especially those children who are vulnerable. Maybe they don't have parents. Maybe their parents are poor, cannot provide for them. They're vulnerable. Maybe children who are affected by HIV and AIDS. Maybe children who are born with disabilities. There are certain things they cannot meet. So, a group of people known as advocates, they have to be there. That's why you find people like early this month. Minima school amatse gulira. Is it this month or last month? Last month. So you hear my group minute ya WhatsApp. Mwana wakuti wachoka amusankhira skulu kuchokera ku Chitipa. Amusankhira ku box 2 alibe fees. Amene angathe kumuthandiza amuthandiza. That's advocacy. Okay? Yeah, all those. So those people who are telling other people to say, here is a person, here is a child, here is a student, has got this need, can we help? That is advocacy. Because you want to improve the life of this person. You want them not to fail to go to school. You want them not to fail to enjoy the right to education just like everyone else. So you want to make people help. Is it making sense?
Yes.
Okay. Before I continue, let me have questions. Are there any questions? Muzindifunsiraro chifukwa inendeza kufunsani pamayeso. I'll ask you. So take advantage and ask me questions. Ndile ndikamaza kufunsani izakhale ngati draw game. Oh. Okay. Chabwino. All right. So next, what we want to look at now is to look at some of the pillars, 3 main pillars in child advocacy. Three main pillars in child advocacy. But before I talk about these pillars, let me talk about some of the characteristics of advocacy, child advocacy, in practice. Okay? Characteristics of child advocacy in practice. Then I'll go to the 3 pillars of child advocacy, still in practice. So in other words, what we have been discussing was focusing on just the theory, isn't it? Yes, but now, when you want to begin to carry out different activities in advocacy, what are some of the characteristics, or what are some of the things that you must consider? That's what we mean here, looking at the characteristics of child advocacy in practice. Number 1, child advocacy should be the main activity, not something added on to what you do. Child advocacy should be the main activity and not something that is added on to what you are doing. advocacy should be the main activity and not something added on to what you're doing. It should not be an afterthought. It should be the main activity and not something that is added on to what you do. It should be built into your program of practical support to children. It should be built into your program of practical support to children. Since advocacy is an activity, then in most cases it is done as a program. That is why we're saying it should not be something. It should be something that is the main activity, not something added on, and it should be built into your program of practical support for the children. So you will notice when you begin to do advocacy, maybe you're working with Action Aid, there will be a program, a project targeting a certain community in which you have to do activities to support the children, the lives of the children. So what we are saying is, when planning, whatever you want to do should be the main thing. Sometimes, some people, what they do is, maybe they go to a community, and then the community which they are carrying out some activities. Probably they have got a project to empower women. Akapanga mobilize as my Abbas and Rama. They will tell them, no, this money, they have them a business. You have to start businesses so that your economic, socio-economic status can improve. Then they will say, what about the children? Still Nabange consider. We haven't considered the children. Can we do something for the children? So it means the children were not a priority. They were prioritizing the women, and the children, they have just thought about them later on. So we're saying, no. When you are doing any activity or program, first of all, think about the children first. Then you can be thinking about the women, can be thinking about the men, can be thinking about adolescents. That's number one. Number two, child advocacy is a positive action offering credible alternatives. Positive action. Advocacy is a positive action offering credible alternatives. Positive action offering credible alternatives. Credible, C-R-E-D-I-B-L-E. C-R-E-D-I-B-L-E. Credible alternatives. It is not only against something. It is not only against something. It also offers positive alternatives. It's not only against something, it must also offer positive alternatives or solutions. It must also offer positive alternatives or solutions. Do you get what that means? It's a positive action offering credible alternatives or solutions. It's not only against something, it must also offer positive solution. What it means is, if you are fighting against certain, maybe certain things that are not contributing to the well-being of the children, you should also provide solutions. Don't just fight against certain behaviors or try to change. Don't just maybe say something to show that what people are doing is wrong. You also have to show them how to do the right things. So offer positive alternatives. I gave an example of punishment by teachers. So when you are trying to do advocacy, don't just tell the teachers, you are wrong by punishing the children, making them kneel down on the floor for 30 minutes. That is wrong. Don't whip them, don't spank them. Don't spank the children, that is wrong. Don't just point what is wrong, but also tell them what is the right thing to do. Making sense? Okay, number 3. Child advocacy is about policy change for children. Child advocacy is about policy and change. Yeah, it's about policy and change for children. It is directed at those who have the power to influence children's lives. It is directed at those who have the power to influence children's lives. It is directed at those who have or who hold the power to influence children's lives. The goal is institutional change. The goal is institutional change. The goal is institutional change. So what do we mean? So we want, as advocates, to make people change the way they treat children. If they treat them in a wrong way, if they don't treat them well, we want them to change. And in most cases, we are also interested in some of the policies and the laws in the land, which are not favorable for the children. Yeah? So we are directed, we want to make sure that those policies change for the better. Those policies change. I'll give you an example. In primary school, there is a law or a policy about free primary. In other words, every primary school in Malawi, children are not supposed to pay school fees, isn't it? That one is a good policy. However, there is no policy that tells parents that it is a must for them to send their children to school. The school is free, yes, but parents have got the freedom either to send them to school or not to send the children to school. So there is need for a policy to be there to force the parents to take the children to school, compulsory education. Why is it necessary? You can see that even though the government has said it is free, but some parents can choose. So what do we need to do? We need to make those people who come up with policies to come up with another policy and say it's a must, okay, for you to send them. That's why we're saying mukamapanga za advocacy malamulo so zimafunika kumaona kuti malamulo awawa akuthandiza kapena sakuthandiza. Malamulo amene tingayike angathandize ana ndi ati. That's what we are saying. policy change. Number 4, advocacy, child advocacy in particular, requires clear goals and measurable objectives. Child advocacy requires clear goals and measurable objectives. Clear goals and measurable objectives. Child advocacy requires clear goals and measurable objectives. Clear goals and measurable objectives. So this sounds simple. It sounds simple, but it can be the most difficult part when you are planning for an advocacy. Okay? Let me just give you an example of a measurable objective. So a measurable objective should be able to state or quantify the goals. So it has to show how much you want to achieve, when you want to achieve, who are going to do the activity, so on and so forth. In so doing, it means everyone is clear. You cannot just say, we want to help the children in Malawi. Which children are you talking about? Where are these children? Okay. When do you want to help? With what? What is their problem? So whatever you want to do should be clear. We want to help 100 children. Because sometimes you cannot have all the money to help all the children in Malawi. So, right? Yeah. So you have to be very clear. We want to help at least 100 children, okay? Maybe by the end of 2013. No. Why am I going back? By the end of 2023. So it means you are very clear. We'll talk about this later on in the next lessons. Number 5, and then I give you 2 more, and we can stop because we are running out of time. So number 5, child advocacy is a long-term process. It's not a once-off event. Child advocacy is a long-term process rather than a once-off event. And you need objectives in the short term as well as wider goals in the long term. Let me take that one again. Child advocacy is a long-term process rather than a one or once-off event. Child advocacy is a long-term process rather than a one-off event, and you need both. You need specific objectives. Yes, both specific objectives in the short term as well as wider goals in the long term. You following? Where are you lost? So you need both specific objectives in the short term objectives in the short term, as well as wider goals in the long term. You need both specific objectives in the short term as well as wider goals in the long term. Specific objectives in the short term. In the short term, and the wider goals in the long term. Yeah? In other words, you cannot achieve the changes that you want in children immediately. You need to give yourself time. But you can still be doing certain things in the short term and then achieve results and slowly move towards the long-term goal. Let me give an example. Your long-term goal can be to make sure that all the children in ECD or in early childhood, maybe 8 years below, all the children, that's 8 years below, maybe from 3 years to 5 years, all the children from 3 years to 5 years, in Lilongwe West or Lilongwe Rural, they are able to go to school, nursery school, preschool program. That can be your goal. But can you manage to get all the children in Lilongwe Rural to go to school in one day? No. You need time. So that one is your long-term goal. But what about a short-term goal? Short-term goal, you can begin by saying, maybe, first of all, first 2 months, we are going to identify the children who are 3 years to 5 years who are not going to school. It means in 2 months. Then you can say, the next 3 months, we are going to be visiting those homes where the children are not going to school and find out what are the challenges. Don't even 5 months. Then the next 2 months or 1 month, we are going to get the children to be enrolled in the school, ready for the new academic year. So in the short term, you also have to have some goals. Because when you do those goals, they will help you to achieve the main objective. The same thing, you are here. You are doing your degree. Your goal is to get a degree, isn't it? But can you get it in 1 year? You can't get it in 1 year. So your long-term goal is to get a degree. But your short-term goal is to pass each and every exam. Because you know, if you fail the exams, by the end of 4 years, you are not going to get your degree. So you have, first of all, to achieve small goals, because you know those goals, if you achieve them, they will help you to achieve the long-term goal. And you can tell yourself, in order for me to succeed, I don't need to have a carryover, number one, a repeat. I don't need to be coming for some. That's a short-term goal. I need to be submitting all my assignments. I need to make sure that I pass my research. Short-term goals. Let's finish, and let's finish this way. Child advocacy starts in the field. Child advocacy starts in the field. child advocacy starts in the field. The voices and priorities of the people you want to help should inform your advocacy. The voices and priorities of the people you want to help should inform your advocacy. Child advocacy starts in the field. The voices and priorities of the people you want to help should inform your advocacy. Child advocacy starts in the field. The voices and priorities of the people you want to help. Funa ndiziphunzisa English. Sanduke mphunzisi wa English. Priorities. Mafuna spell. T R I O R I T I E S. Got it? So people you want to help should inform your advocacy. The voices and priorities of the people you want to help should inform your advocacy. Remember, I said, don't impose your ideas or views on the people that you want to help. Don't come from your office or home just because you have a degree and you go to the communities and you say, look at me, I'm a graduate, I'm here to help you. It will not work. They will tell you, we don't have problems, our children are fine. Okay. But go there to hear. In fact, community, they will start telling you their stories and problems. Hey, look at, come here, see, this is how we are struggling. No, our children, they are facing A, B, C. Then you can be listening. So when you have listened, that's when you can go back and say, what sort of, assistance can we give them based on what we have, and also based on what they are thinking is suitable for them. So that's how you can be effective. Because when you do something just because you think it's a problem with them, you find out that sometimes they don't accept. They don't accept. So some people went to a community and installed a borehole in the community. And then they go there after several days, the borehole is still intact, nobody has used it. Yet people are struggling with water. And then the people were like, you guys, but we thought you are struggling with water. They said, yeah. Then why are you not using the water from the borehole we came to install? And they said, where you have installed the borehole, that water, when we use it to cook our food, it doesn't work because it's too salty. You see? You can't drink it, it's too salty. We can't use it to boil our beans. And these guys were shocked, like, he thought. Why? Because they did not consult. Sana did not consult them. Is this suitable? Can we do it here? So you can't just observe a community and say, looks like the children here, they just walk, just with a short without malaya. Amangoenda obandagani malaya. And you think, oh, kunokonde kuti ana kusowaja malaya, tibwerese malaya. And you get all those bales of clothes, you come to distribute, They will say, "No, the children have got malaria." Only that here the weather is so hot, and that's why they walk without, putting on. So you might think what you are seeing is a problem, but it might not necessarily be a problem for the community. So you need just to listen to them and then ask, how best can we help? Any questions? No. Thank you for no questions. Having no questions, I will ask you questions later.
So, what about notes?
What about notes? I don't know. I thought you were writing down notes. The short notes?
Yeah.
The short notes are not notes? Okay, so you're not confident of yourself.
We are, but
No.
we cannot manage like it.
That's what you're telling me. Body. Okay. Fine. So let me. That's not the data. And the Wi-Fi is not connecting. Okay, let me forward them to you.